Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rising Stories Podcast. I'm Corrine Sandifer, your host. Each week, I interview a business owner or author, and we chat about building businesses. And we talk about working as a boss and learning how to work through the struggles and the successes that come with it all. We share our best tools and our best practices with you. And we also discuss topics that we can all relate to, such as work-life balance, living with intention, and dreaming big. So sit back and relax, grab some wine or some coffee or water, and listen to these women share how they are rising. And I want to make sure that you are connected to Rising Stories Podcast. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button on iTunes to get the latest episodes. Also, the best and fastest way to connect with me is on Instagram or Twitter. If you have a question, go to Twitter and find me at Corrine Sandifer and let me know what you like and what you don't like about the show. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can also find me on Instagram at Corrine Sandifer, and I love to do Insta stories. So make sure you're following me and catch some of those stories. Sometimes a tragic event in your life has a way of making you reevaluate things. It can also give you the courage and bravery that you need to take that first step to launching a business. This is exactly what happened to my guest, Janine Maryland. She began a greeting card company after the tragic death of her brother during the recent Orlando Massacre. Listen as Janine shares her passion for poetry and for connecting with others. Here is my conversation with Janine Maryland.
Hi, Corrine.
Welcome to Rising Stories Podcast.
I'm so glad to be here. This is such a great opportunity.
Yeah, I am so glad to meet you finally. We met online in a group, and you caught my interest because you have a business that you're running that is a very nurturing type of business. Can you tell me a little bit more about it's called Granny's Conversations, and they're cards, they're greeting cards, right?
Yes, they're greeting cards for the soul. So these cards look like recipe cards with coffee stain background, and they have a recipe for the day that corresponds with a particular subject matter that is usually a life event that you can't find cards for, such as cancer, miscarriages, toxic relationships, domestic violence, and more. And these are subjects that, people face every day.
Yeah.
And a lot of times your friends don't really know how to help you through it. And sometimes they even stay away because it's awkward. So this gives people an opportunity to send something, just to say, I'm thinking about you. I know that you're still going through this. I don't know what to say, but I'm going to let Granny do the talking.
I love that because you're right. You're not going to find that type of typical card at Hallmark or any, greeting card places. You're going to find very generic ones, but it's not going to be I love that you have the domestic violence and the miscarriages and cancer, because I think a lot of the greeting cards that you find at stores are very geared towards just an overall grieving, not very specific grieving.
Right. They're very generic. The only specific you might get is if it's just for a mother or a father, and it may just say the word, but it doesn't really describe what you're going through. And these cards, they're personal poems that I write myself, but they really Granny's talking to you like you're sitting at her table, and she's like, I understand how you feel, and this is what's happening. This is what's happening, but I'm here for you, and this is how I'm going to help you get through it. So it's very personable and not generic.
Yeah. Do you have one that you can read to us?
Sure. This particular one I actually wrote specifically for my cousin. She faced 2 types of uterine cancer in December of 2015.
Wow.
At the age of 40. And I woke up in the middle of the night the same night that she told me she had cancer and came up with this poem because I was so moved by what she was facing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's the recipe for the day is 1 cup of empathy, 1 teaspoon of a touch on the shoulder, half a cup of a gentle and calming whisper, directions mixed together until the listening ear produces courage. And the poem reads, someone hit pause on your life without asking for permission, crowding in on your peace of mind, forcing you to make a decision. Couldn't you have been allowed to finish just one more song? Enjoy the melody without static before something went wrong? Child, don't panic or stress out. There is beauty in this here silence. And I'll be right here to press play when it all starts to make sense. You will get through this.
That's so encouraging. I love that.
Thank you.
So encouraging. And so you have others that, what brought this about? Like that I know you said you, in your bio, you mentioned that you love poetry. And so you've written a lot of, are there different ones for each? There are different ones for each, obviously for each grievance, but are they uh, different ones within the same, for cancer, or do you just have the same
Yeah.
one for each for cancer or
Um,
miscarriage,
well,
each subject?
currently, I just have one for cancer and one for miscarriages, but that will expand as time goes along. I,
Mm-hmm.
I have 6 categories. The first one is healing, then love, encouragement, strength, and endurance. So all the different subject matters fall into a particular category. And right now, I have a total of 18 cards. Um, and so it's like I said, as time goes by, I will expand maybe just the different types of people who face cancer and maybe a particular card that would fit them better and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and domestic violence, I mean, that is something that people don't want to touch. So I'm really glad that you are including that in your list of cards, because I think that is probably the most, that of the ones that you mentioned, is the sticky one, where people maybe don't want to, or a bad relationship. Maybe they just don't know how to let people know that they care.
Exactly. You know, domestic violence, you have the physical abuse, you have the emotional abuse, and then a lot of times people don't realize a toxic relationship cannot necessarily be any type of abuse, but you're in a situation that is causing you to be codependent on a person or causing you to not truly live your life for yourself because you're in a relationship that is causing negativity or toxicness in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, how did you come up with the encouragement or the poem for that, for the domestic violence?
Well, I'm the type of person that, like, I've always been the type of person that really loved people, and I really like listen to people's story,
Mm-hmm.
and I observe a lot. And then I've experienced toxic relationships, and then I grew up in a household where my father was um, abusive, physically abusive to my mother their entire marriage. And so I know a lot firsthand and saw as well what she went through and what it does to a person's life and their children.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that's very dear to my heart to help heal people in those type of situations and more. So a lot of times my cards just come from either my own personal experiences that I've overcome as my testimony to help others, or from just other people that I know that are close to me and what they've experienced and how I just wanted to help them on a deeper level.
Yeah, that is so deep. And just the fact that you've gone through, you've touched on something that is personal, I think gives you you've got your thumb on the pulse of what's going on and how you can help. So
Right,
that's really
right.
good. So tell me what they look like. You said that they were like coffee stained and like little cards, like so they look like Granny's old recipe cards.
Exactly, because the whole concept is you come to Granny's kitchen table, and that's usually like a place of comfort. And when you're sitting there, she's talking to you, giving you advice, making you laugh, making you cry, and she's usually giving you something to eat. So the idea is, and the whole concept of the branding itself is to remind the person of their first place of comfort. So when they look at the card, it takes them back and it makes them feel like they're sitting at that kitchen table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how did you get this business started? How did you
Yeah,
launch it?
it's a very interesting story. You know, everything in life happens for a reason, and something times things come full circle to bring you back to your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I was always into giving cards. I loved greeting cards. People knew that when they received a card from me, they would get a long letter.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually saved every card anyone's ever given me in a shoebox. And so I always said, well, when I grow up, I'm gonna have my own greeting card business. But and I didn't really do anything actively to pursue it. But I got into poetry. My mom and my grandmother wrote poetry all their life. And my mom, she's an amazing poet. She wrote a poem for every stage of my life growing up.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes. And so I always admired her poetry because it was so deep. It was, and then it wasn't until I became a young adult that I started writing poetry. And what triggered it is going through different experiences. Like every time I had a breakup, I would write a poem to give me closure from that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Or just any type of experience, it was my therapy.
Yeah.
And it came to the point that I even like would go around and perform spoken word at like coffee shops when they would have open mic night. And my friends would have me write poems for them. So it just became a big part of my life for like 5 or 6 years. But I still wasn't thinking about the greeting card business. And then in my late 20s, I went back to school for graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
And I love graphic design because it was my passion as well, just the artistic part of it. And I did a lot of freelance work, but I wasn't able to get the fulfillment of fully helping people from the doing freelance. It was just giving them a nice design, but I didn't get that deeper fulfillment.
Yeah, well, and it
So,
wasn't personal, like this is
exactly.
very personal to you.
Exactly. So about 3 years ago, I took a writing class, and that the leader of the class was a godsend. She helped me develop my love for poetry again and revamp my writing style. And then in the class, I told them that, I've always wanted to start a greeting card business. And they kind of helped me move forward with that in the class. They even, I told them, I said, I want my cards to be unique. I want them to be for subjects you don't get cards for. I want them to be poetic. And
Mm-hmm.
so they kind of helped me come up with the branding, even like the recipe card styles, the display boxes being like recipe boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And in class, we started with Granny's Kitchen. And so it was really a godsend. And so I developed my writing. I started writing more, but I still like would put it on hold because I started working, helping other people. I'm a giver. So I was helping other people with their businesses and their dreams. And it wasn't until my brother was tragically killed in the Orlando Pulse Massacre on June 12th last year. And my brother Tony, he was like really big on people following their dreams and going back to school and just doing their purpose. And I that was the hardest death I've ever faced. I've lost a lot of people. I've lost my best friend. I've lost my dad. But Tony's death, it just brought all the other deaths to the forefront. And I just was riddled with so much guilt for just not feeling like I was there for him enough, or a good enough big sister, and
Mm-hmm.
just, everything that you go through when someone dies. And so I wanted to honor him. I wanted to do something to make him proud and happy. And
Mm-hmm.
so his death kind of forced me to get this greeting card business off the ground.
It gave you that encouragement and that push that you needed, because now you're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it in his honor, and because he was such a dreamer, you're wanting to fulfill your dreams.
Exactly.
You're like, I better get going because it's this is too life is too short, number one, and um, you know, you've got someone that can't, isn't here to fulfill his dreams. It's
Right,
such a
right.
sad death, and that was a horrible event. I'm so sorry that you lost your brother, and it's just, but at the same time, I bet that you feel his presence just kind of pushing you, saying, "You go for it, do it."
Exactly, exactly. Every time I want to give up and I get overwhelmed or frustrated, I remember how much he fought for doing better, and how, he's smiling down on me. So it just like, okay, I can do it. I can do
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So, what's unique about your business is you have developed this all the while you still have a day job. So there are a lot of,
Yes.
it's very common. There are a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of small business owners that are basically doing their businesses out of their homes, like on their kitchen tables, and just getting, doing what they can when they can, all the while, kind of using something else to pay the bills and, live on and stuff. But tell me more about how that works for you. Do you work on it every evening, or do you have a schedule?
It's very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something, it's constantly a work in progress. But because I work full time, I work 8 to 5, and then I still have to take care of personal responsibilities. I do try to kind of make a schedule for me for the week. Like, I might designate one night where I'll just work on marketing, and
Mm-hmm.
another night I'll work on bookkeeping, and another night I'll work on actually writing. But it usually requires me to stay up to midnight or even later, to fit everything in. And on the weekends, while I'm still trying to juggle, going to the grocery store, cleaning up, washing clothes, paying bills, and helping other people with their dreams as well.
Right, right. Because it sounds like you're a big encourager, and that's just kind of part of what you do. So I
Yes.
can imagine that you're doing that. So what would you think is the best business advice that you've ever gotten?
The best business advice I've ever gotten was from a dear friend. Um, and she said to enjoy the process.
That's
A
good.
lot a lot of times we'll get frustrated because the sales aren't coming fast enough, or it's the marketing isn't going well enough, or we keep making mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
or bad decisions. But we have to remember the process, because that is what keeps us going through the bad times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good advice. I think that, you know, if you're in this business, if you're in doing your own thing and starting your own business, you've got to be passionate about it. So you really do need to enjoy that process as you're going along, because you're never really, I just don't feel, I've interviewed so many people on this show, and I don't ever think that we ever feel like we've arrived. I mean,
No.
maybe, I don't know, maybe the top, companies like people that started Microsoft or whatever, but I don't feel like they ever feel like as a small business owner, that you always feel like you've arrived. I think that, so by saying enjoy the process, I think that really does kind of free you to to enjoy and to understand that it's a journey and it's part of your passion and you're just going to keep going.
Exactly. While you're still trying to figure it out, even if every year you feel like you're still figuring it out, just enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. So tell me, what's your favorite app on your phone?
Pinterest. I am slightly addicted to Pinterest.
I love Pinterest.
I've planned my whole life.
Everything. I mean, you can literally plan your whole life with Pinterest.
Yes.
Yeah. I tell you something really interesting about Pinterest, how I use it. And I've done this for, the last 5 years, I think. So I'm not really like fashion savvy. I mean, I like to think that I have some fashion sense, but I'm not like totally, like that's not what I'm gifted in. But, and so like in the morning, I don't know how to put things together. So I've been going to Pinterest for the past 5 years and putting in like khaki pants. Like I know, if whatever's clean, I'll be like,
right.
I've got some khaki pants and I have a blue shirt. So I'll put those in and then it shows me how to accessorize them. Like what kind of shoes to wear or what, they're different things pop up and I'm like, oh, I like that outfit and I have that. So I'm going to do that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you like about Pinterest?
I like just it removes the clutter of just people talking. and and you're able to just it's just you and the boards, and you're able to just really it brings out a person's creativity. I love cooking. Cooking is another one of my passions. So I use Pinterest every Sunday to try to figure out what I'm going to cook for the week or what I'm buying from the grocery store.
Yeah. So do you find recipes there and then you just go out and get the ingredients, or do you actually try to get ideas for your own recipes?
Yes, I like to experiment a lot. So I usually just get ideas for my own recipes and kind of just mix things together, or just kind of open my mind to ingredients that I've never thought to use. I'm trying to get healthier. So it's really helped me learn how to cook healthy.
Yeah, yeah. I love all that, Whole30 and the paleo. And anytime I need a recipe, I just go to Pinterest and go, I need balsamic vinaigrette. So, and it tells me how to make it. Or the other day, went to the farmer's market and I brought home they were like snap peas. And I love snap peas. I eat them raw with dips and stuff, but they were so good, and I bought a whole bunch of them that I was like, what am I going to do now? So it showed me like how to grill them. So I was really excited because they were delicious. So yeah, I love Pinterest too. That's one of my favorites. It's dangerous on the phone, like your phone app.
Yes, you're on there all the time.
Absolutely. So, Janine, what are your favorite things that you're loving these days?
I love movies, and so I'm a big movie buff. So I usually watch a lot of movies. I love to read. Reading has always been my passion because I'm able to like just take a break from reality and just totally get engrossed in a book and feel like I'm there. So it's kind of like I feel like I'm in a movie.
Yeah. What are you reading these days?
I actually am reading the book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
That's going to be a movie, right?
Yes. Well, it actually already premiered.
Oh,
but
it did? Okay.
Yes, Oprah produced it, and it was an amazing movie. But when I read the book, I learned so much more about the lady. Her cells were actually used to discover so many different vaccines for diseases, infertility, in vitro, etc.
And she didn't even know it. Like
she didn't even know it. She had cervical cancer, and they actually stole part of her tumor.
Wow. Wow.
And then they saw that her cells regenerated just forever.
Hmm.
So it's
That is
very
so
it's a
interesting.
I recommend anybody to read the book because you're going to be blown away from what was left out of the movie.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's always good to read the book, right? First, because
Yes,
it's always so much richer than what they portray because they can only do so much in the movie theater. So, in the
exactly.
movies. Yeah. So, what else? What's number 3? What else do you love to do or your favorite things?
I love cooking.
Mhm.
Cooking is my passion. And so I just love the process. I'm one of the weird ones that love actually chopping up vegetables by hand.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I also love essential oils. I'm getting into essential oils. I have a representative from doTERRA that's amazing, and it's been life changing. The way essential oils have just helped me with just stress, health problems,
Mhm.
preventing being sick. But I'm into that as well.
Yeah.
Anything natural or holistic, I'm all into that.
You're into that. Yeah. I can tell that you have a passion for cooking. Just the way you were talking about Pinterest and making stuff and I can just see you just chopping away.
Yes, and I got that from my grandmother too. She, every Sunday we would sit around the kitchen table after church, and I would just watch my mom and grandmother in the kitchen cooking and making homemade fried pies. And
Mm.
I didn't really enjoy cooking growing up. I just, wanted to watch, but
Mhm.
it wasn't until like after I moved out on my own for the first time and realized how expensive it is to be grown,
Yeah.
then I quickly learned how to cook.
Yes, cuz it does. It saves a lot of money when you cook your own. And you can always even if someone is a single person or it's just two people, you can always like freeze leftovers or just make a whole bunch and um sometimes I had friends and neighbors and we would make extra and I would just share and so then they would have a whole different meal, the next day.
Exactly. I actually meal prep every Sunday because my schedule is so busy, and I want to make sure that I stick to eating healthy. And so I'll like separate everything into individual dishes
Mhm.
and put things in the freezer and make my smoothie packs in the freezer bags. And so that way during the week, all I have to do is just pull it out and go.
That's great. Yeah. We love smoothies around here. They're really good. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on Rising Stories and sharing your journey and your passions and about your brother. That's so neat that you are carrying on his legacy, doing what is passionate that you're passionate about and sharing it with the world. And like I said, you're nurturing and healing people with these cards and I think it's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, I have a new set of cards that focuses on the 6 stages of grief that are coming out on June 12th on the 1 year memorial of my brother's death, and I'm releasing them in his honor. And you can also because it takes so long to actually go through grief, then you can give the cards sporadically throughout the year to your friend just to keep
Mm.
when everybody else is left, just to let them know I know you're still going through this and I'm still thinking about you.
Oh, that's so good. Very good. Yes. Well, thank you so much
Thank you
and
again.
appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Have a great day.
Wow, such bravery and endurance all wrapped up in one great lady. Janine will be giving away a set of her cards to one lucky listener, so make sure that you hop over to Instagram. Make sure you're connected to Janine and myself to get all the details on the giveaway. Thanks again for listening and keep rising in your own story. Music is by Ben Sound, and this podcast has been sponsored by Brentwood Life Coach.